I don't want to be chosen no more. Oh my goodness, I don't even got the words, y'all. I don't want to be chosen no more. Guys, you know what's so crazy about these lames, man? I started noticing that on YouTube, a few years ago about, if you express any kind of weakness, they try to exploit that. I mean, it's like, do these, whatever they are, do they even realize they represent what these so-called archons do, or how these demons feed on people's fears and weaknesses and emotions and stuff like that? If you want the perfect example of, you hear about these demonic spirits, but they really in people, right? You talk about spirits, that's just spooky stuff. No, spirits are in these people, and they like to feed on your weakness. They get off on people's weaknesses, and of course, I can't understand how that's possible because I'm not them, but I see it going on, and that's why I have a responsibility not to be weak. Now, of course, we all have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has days they just don't feel like dealing with shit, or they're tired of shit. For the most part, me, 90% of the time, I'm an upbeat person. 10% of the time, I could be irritated with something. It could be anything. It don't have to be what people think it's about. It could be anything. And I'll notice how these parasites try to come around and feed if I show any kind of weakness. So, and it's so easy. They don't even realize they're like insects. You can just lure them. It's like putting cheese on a mousetrap. You want to lure a narcissist in, one of these demonic people in. You want to lure them in. Start talking about some negative stuff. You start being positive. Know how everybody leaves. I made a video talking about being youthful and how that shit starts showing up on your face when you age. You want to isolate yourself? Start eating right and trying to look good and having a good heart. Watch motherfuckers run away from you like roaches when you turn on lights. When you're negative, oh, you got people all around you. Everybody want. When you complaining, you start noticing all these people around you, but they're not around you for the reason you think they're around you. You say, well, you know, everybody got problems, right? So you think it's okay to air out all your negativity, and so you have all these friends around you because everybody's just airing out their negativity. And the minute you start trying to be more positive, you're gonna lose those people. And say, why is that? Because they feeding off you, baby. That's why they feeding off you. You thought it was just about, how do you say, what they call that? Trauma bonding. Some people may have convinced themselves that trauma bonding is okay. You come to find out that's actually not okay. Unless you just want to stay in trauma, I guess it's okay. But if you don't want to stay in trauma, you actually want to have a positive, upbeat outlook on things. Those people, those narcissists, those demons, they're not going to stay around you. Why? Because there's nothing to feed on. It's kind of messed up though, because you're like, why do I got to be isolated just because I want to be positive? Why does, you're not going to be isolated. Sooner or later, people are going to come around you who want to be on your frequency. It might take a little while. It's almost like the universe is testing you, because before it allows those people around you that are on that, high vibration that you claim that you're now on, the universe is going to throw some more tests at you. See if you're really serious about it, or you sure you don't want to go back to those people that want to trauma bond and feed off negative, low vibe energy. Sure you don't want that? And so the universe will test you, have you in isolation. Until you prove, now I wouldn't say prove to the universe, but prove to yourself that you're ready to be around people around that ain't trying to feed off you. and actually looking to be around positive energy. It kind of reminded me what Bobby Hemmett said, man, about the ancient teachings. Said that the initiates believed in a God outside themselves, but after you pass a certain initiation, you found out that you was the God that you was actually looking for. Yeah, you. And it seems kind of lonely because now you don't have nothing to pray to anymore. We're very used to being codependent. I'll be honest with you guys, as a chosen one, I don't always like talking about God this and God that, and it makes me feel codependent. I don't want to be universally codependent on anything. I have a responsibility to represent love. The best way I possibly can. Not perfect, but I have a responsibility to represent love the best way I possibly can. And if anybody thinks that's weird, they ain't just not meant to be around you. People actually think staying in a love frequency, you're gonna have a lot of people call you a weirdo because you want to stay in a love frequency. Well, that's why I say the universe is gonna test you, but you're actually testing yourself. But yeah, it's a huge responsibility walking through a chamber and realize that you was the guy that you was actually looking for. The person you was actually praying to was yourself. And you don't realize that until you cross a certain bridge. And it's a very lonely feeling because you're used to being codependent on something outside of yourself. This is the initiation that the Egyptian priests went to. When you really think about it, it does make a lot of sense, because why would one God care about a trillions of souls? It doesn't make any sense. Well, in that case, I would never want to be God then if I had to worry about trillions of souls. Doesn't make any sense to me. What it seems like what we're dealing with here is universal lessons. At least that's what I've learned the past few. You really got to stand on your square by yourself. By yourself. But it's just hilarious though how these leeches and these lower entities show up when they think you weak, and they just show up out of nowhere. It'd be like, damn, ain't I allowed to be weak sometimes? It's like, yeah, but you gotta keep that to yourself. You can't. It's almost like the whole thing. Never, don't let them see you sweat, or something on that level. Trying to see if I got anything to say before I close this out. Yeah, you gotta stand on your square though, man. You gotta stand on your square. A lot of people, the only reason a lot of people stay in groups and our friends is because they got problems. That's the only reason you got friends. That is the sobering truth that I have learned this part of my life up until the point I'm at now. The only reason that people were around me back in those days was because we had problems. Every single relationship that I can remember, we were only together because we had problems that we both agreed upon. As soon as I stepped out of the problem that me and that individual were in agreement upon, they left my life. So, damn, what happened? What happened is that like every relationship you was in was just trauma bonding. Don't get into no marriage like that either. That's the lesson to myself. If I get married again one day, that's the biggest lesson I can ever learn. Don't ever get into a marriage over trauma bonding. Don't ever get into any relationship over trauma bonding, man. You're gonna regret it. It's like it's like being in a lower level of hell and you can't get out. And the only way you can get out is if you lose that thing that you're attached to, that's binded to you. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, guys. I don't want to keep this long, but yeah, it's just amazing how you can attract these lower entities. Do they even realize how easy they think I'm the one that's easy to fuck with? No, me, I just had to learn to just quit talking to people about my problems because they was just feeding off me. They never no people don't care. Most people don't care about your problems. I just had to learn to be silent, basically. And it's funny because even when I would talk about my problems, I was still on a higher vibration than everybody else, and they sensed that they didn't like that. So that's why they had to do these add-ons. It's like, yeah, he talks about his problems and stuff, and he goes through things, but he still don't seem like he's in a low frequency. We got to do something about that. And they would do stuff, whether it's slander, throw stumbling blocks at me. Some sick stuff, y'all. It's some very sick, sobering stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, y'all. Maybe I'll talk more about this later, all right? I don't want to be chosen no more.